Hi, my name's John. A year ago, I never even heard of Fruits Basket. That is until my fiancée introduced the anime to me.
And I'm Allie. I've been reading the manga since I was in 3rd grade.
We loved watching season 1 together so much, and we'd have all these crazy long discussions about what happened in each episode.
And for season 2, we thought it would be really fun to share our conversations with you.
So join us today as we talk about season 2, episode 21, There Was Definitely. So if you're a returning listener, then welcome back. If you're a new listener, then we're happy to have you on this week's episode of our Fruits Basket podcast. So if you like this kind of content, you want to see more of it coming from this channel, then make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another upload. And share it with all of your friends wherever you share things, whether that's on Twitter, Discord, Reddit, or anywhere else. But with all that out of the way, where are we starting?
We're starting out with this grumpy old maid lady, which, ew, don't like her. But she's...
I've named her Gertrude. I don't know if she really has a name. She probably does, but she's Gertie now.
She's Gertie?
Yeah, short for Gertrude.
Oh, jeez. Okay, well, she's talking about how great it is that Yuki's alive. What a wonderful boy. The birth of the rat is such a great celebration. So
yeah, honestly, I agree with her, though. Like, I'm very happy Yuki was born. But then she kind of, opens the door so Yuki can meet Akito. And Yuki starts, crying.
Oh, yeah. He full on he's letting the waterworks come out, And yeah. I think it's so funny that his mom reacts in the way that she does, because it's like, homegirl, you have an older son who also cried.
Yes.
And, knowing Ayame, he was older when Akito was born, and when he met Akito, so, maybe she had already distanced herself from Ayame at that point, but it's like, geez, girl, you're really showing that you distanced yourself from Ayame pretty quick, because, you didn't even know that he cried.
Yeah, but I feel like it's almost, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I feel like the reincarnation cycle, at least for Akito and the family head, is, pretty quick, because they brought up the former family head, right? They say the late family head, so they're dead. So, yeah, I assume that it's like an Avatar thing, where the second God dies, God is reincarnated. I think it's more of a random thing for the rest of the Zodiac, because it's a big celebration when the rat dies, and so if the former rat died immediately, then they would just know that another one was going to come immediately,
Okay.
So I feel like the Zodiac can't exist without God, but God can exist without all of the Zodiac,
Interesting theories.
Because it's strange that it seems like it's strange that all 12 of them are around at the same time.
Oh yeah, and they even say it's weird.
Yeah, in the beach arc. And so, but all of that kind of leads into us seeing Yuki have this weird internal conflict of almost having these feelings of adoration for Akito, but also repulsion. And I think that has to be Zodiac inspired. That's not just a natural thing, Because Akito doesn't seem terrifying yet, Akito genuinely feels like a normal kid at first. Did you notice that? I mean, you've read the manga, so I feel like if I'm correct, you did notice that. But, so Yuki has this very disorganized attachment style, where it's very much that I need affection from you, but also I want to push you away. Kind of like we were talking about with Rin and her parents right after they abandon her. I want that affection, but I also want to stay far away because out of fear. And so I think it's strange that this is almost inborn into the Zodiac members. Because Yuki's never met the family head before. He knows nothing about what he's about to get himself into. And it seems like for the first little while, they were pretty chill, They just kind of played together, and Akito seemed, a little bit irritable. Overall pleasant.
Yeah, and I mean, It's definitely the rat spirit that made him have all of those emotions. Just like every other Zodiac member cries when they meet Akito. Where they just have that bond. So it's the rat spirit that's like not really giving Yuki an idea of how he's supposed to feel about Akito. It's like, I love you, but please don't be near me.
Yeah, so interesting.
Oh, yes, mystery.
And so the opening happens, and we see flowers.
Yes, we do. We see 2 red camellias. And boy, oh boy, if you love flower symbolism, you're in for a good time here. Because
oh boy,
so much flower symbolism. I don't think I want to get off to it like right off the bat because there's so much happening right now. But as you have seen in the episode, they start to lose petals. One whole freaking bloom just falls off. So when we get to that point, there will be more to talk about with the symbolism. But we are introduced to the camellias that we see multiple times throughout this episode.
So this is when we actually see Yuki and Akito being actual playmates. Yeah. And Akito's just kind of reading. They have games, hacky sack. Like, Yuki seems kind of confused and perplexed. Like, why am I here? Why can't I go home? But it doesn't seem nasty. Even when they're eating and Yuki starts coughing real bad, while Akito's initial reaction is to be like, shut up. When he sees how distressed Yuki is, Akito looks concerned, feels bad, and cleans up the rice.
Yeah. And Yuki even mentions that. It's like, Akito used to have tantrums, but it was nothing like what happens now. And Akito was really sweet to Yuki. And I know one thing that I think we've talked about off podcast, but one thing that we have talked about is how similar Yuki and Akito's hairstyles are. And I mean, it really shines when Akito's like, we're one and the same. You're the rat, and that means that you're closest to God, and I'm God. So, like, we're the same. We're so close. Yeah.
I think that it's Akito desperately trying to find a companion. Because I'm sure Akito, we're under the assumption at this point that Ren is his mother and that he is heavily abused, whether it's mentally, physically. I think primarily mentally, but I would not be shocked if he was also physically abused. But except for his actions towards others in the future. And so I feel as though he just wanted someone, anyone that he could relate to and be close with and understand his circumstance. And so Yuki being the rat and them looking kind of similar, he was like, we are the same. Like, I finally found my person because no one else understands what I go through day in and day out.
Yeah. And speaking of what Akito goes through day in and day out, why is Akito struggling so much? Because, I mean, you had mentioned the abuse that you think goes on, but we see Akito a couple times having outbursts, throwing tantrums, and even crying and being held in Shigure's arms. So, like, what's going on there?
I almost feel like it's the weight of being God. So not only is he family head and theoretically above everyone else, that already creates a dynamic that maybe he just doesn't have a good ability to interact with others, and so he doesn't know how to form relationships, so he's not able to, right? And so that's strike one. He finally gets a friend, but he still cries all the time. And maybe it's because he's not good enough. And we see this internal push and pull inside of Yuki and apparently all of the other Zodiac members when they're around him. So I can only imagine what kind of internal battle is happening inside Akito all the time. Because we know that Akito is very sickly. Akito is sick a lot. I really don't know, though. Yeah, I'm just not sure.
That is okay. I don't expect you to have answers. I just expect you to think about some theories.
Yeah. I would say there's something internal going on, and I think his relationship with his mother and potentially the pressure she puts on him, as well as the rest of the family, really gets to him since he's literally a child. And so I think that his actions almost manifest in what he has learned from his mother's behavior moving forward. And maybe if he has a father, I imagine he has a father. Wait, Ren can be a male name.
Ooh.
Wait, maybe it's his father? I don't know. Ren had really long hair. It's a woman. That's not a good indicator. I'm sticking with mother. I'm going with mother because themes of this show.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take whatever you settle on.
I'm settling on mother.
But the next scene that we get is Akito when he hits his weird breaking point, where he suddenly has this big outburst. We finally see the full painting the wall black with ink and everything is pitch black scene. So we get into that, and I have to say, every single time I see a tatami mat get destroyed in some way, it hurts me. Because I know that stain is never coming out. That ink that Akito spilled on the ground, that is never coming out. I know they're rich and they can easily replace it, but it just hurts every single time. Because, like, I've watched enough vlogs to know how hard it is to clean those things. If you spill anything, it's done. You gotta replace it. It's gone. So I think that also was kind of symbolic of, like, one little drop of ink would have ruined it, but, like, Akito's going full throttle here.
It's almost like when something is stained. I feel like you're onto something, though. Like, it's almost symbolic, like the tatami mat, or however you say it. And so that one drop of paint that's soaked in, like, it's so incredibly difficult to get that out, which kind of is symbolic of Yuki's trauma just in general. Something that happened so early in his life that imprinted on him so profoundly. We can see it now. He flashes back to that moment specifically several times in the anime thus far. And it's recurrent, it's very intrusive, and even when he saw the paint in the last episode splatter against the wall, that had him shook. And so it's almost like that paint. He has paint soaked into him, that darkness of Akito soaked into him, and it's going to take a lot to even get it mostly out.
Yep, and that's on trauma.
That's on trauma. That's a really interesting way to illustrate trauma.
Yeah, but then Akito goes on to say all of the things that Yuki constantly remembers. The pitch black, and that Akito isn't useless, but Yuki is useless, so that means that they're nothing alike. And that's not good for him to hear.
Yeah, and how the rat is just absolutely hated by everyone. And it's very much Akito trying to destroy Yuki's self-esteem. And it feels like to make Yuki dependent upon him. Ooh, brain blast. Okay. He wants Yuki to be dependent upon him because I feel like Akito is so terrified of people leaving him. Like, I almost feel like that's his greatest fear, is being alone. And that's why he always has someone, you know? Whether that's Kureno, Shigure, like, Akito is petrified of people being able to leave him when I don't think that he can leave. Like, he can't follow them. It's almost like he's tethered to the Somas and to the estate. Not like he can physically leave, but you know what I'm saying. It's like the weight of the family is crushing him. And in his case specifically, the weight of the zodiac is crushing him. Because he is at the top of the pyramid, but, like, the top's lonely.
Jeez Louise.
You know?
Yeah. Yo, that was a fun brain blast.
Yeah. So I feel like everything is because he's lashing out through his loneliness.
Yeah. I like that idea of loneliness because you kind of see that in the next scene when Akito is sitting, like, as the head of the family, as the head of the zodiac, and Yuki is on his left and Kureno is on his right, and they're not talking. Like, Akito, Yuki, and Kureno are not speaking to one another. But you see Rin, and she's leaning up against Shigure, who's talking to Ayame, and then Ritsu is looking real cute in his dress and tie, which was absolutely adorable. And
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I liked that little nod to him trying to figure out what fashion he liked. And he's chatting with Kagura and Haru, and then we get Momiji, who's just being so cute, clinging on to Hattori. And they're all chatting. But Yuki, Akito, and Kureno aren't really chatting. And Yuki starts to feel a little bit weird and lonely about it, where he's seeing everybody talk, and he's like, oh my gosh, I've never talked to them. Like, that guy over there is my brother, and I've never spoken to him. And,
oh my god.
Yeah, I could see that loneliness being a factor, yeah.
The only way that Akito knows how to keep people by his side is not by developing true relationships, but instead by completely isolating them from everyone else. And so, because he's isolated, he does that to others, so Yuki and Kureno, so that they will be obedient to him because he is all that they have.
Yeah, and I have to call back to during the beach arc when you were like, yo, isn't it crazy that he always has Yuki and Kureno, but then those are also the two, like, most caged animals are, like, rats and birds? Mm-hmm. And I always, like, I keep thinking about that. How they're so frequently seen in cages as opposed to all the other animals.
Yeah, 100%. And now that we know that Kureno's a sparrow and not even like a rooster, I feel like that makes that caged idea even more profound.
You have such good ideas. So proud.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate it.
After we get that sad scene, we get even a more sad scene, which is Yuki leaving the little banquet. He goes outside and he meets Kyo.
This is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
This is a beautiful scene. This is like Demon Slayer levels beautiful of snow scene.
Yes. I have to call out the color theory because graphic design school did this to me. So I love the dynamic between the colors that they have. Because Yuki is wearing primarily cool tones. They're all gray and then like really light blues. Really toned down, desaturated blues. And he's pictured with the dark part. There's not much light coming on his side. There's no windows, really. And it's very snowy and gray and cold because he's wearing all cool colors. And then Kyo, he is wearing these bright colors, fiery, orange, yellow, and then even the green that he has, which normally would be a cool color, has a lot of yellow in it. And so it's not like a very blue-based green, it's more of a yellowish green. And even that has some warmth to it. And he has the beautiful windows right in front of him that are all emanating this just absolutely gorgeous orange light. And that's the really like Demon Slayer part of it. That just that orange, the saturation of it, the warmth. And so I looked up what orange and gray symbolize in Japan. Because colors mean different things everywhere in all different cultures, and they mean very different things in America than they do in Japan. But apparently, in Japan, from what I found, orange can represent energy, warmth, enthusiasm, and demanding of attention, which is, that really describes Kyo in this scene, you know? And then...
Nah, don't see it.
And then gray symbolizes more compromise and control, which... you know, if that doesn't say Yuki. And I love that in this scene, Yuki even points out Kyo's orange hair. And he's like, oh, orange, what a nice color, you know? And just the dynamic of the colors. Oh, it's so good.
So good. But you know what wasn't so good?
When Kyo told Yuki to go die.
I mean, to be fair, he said you should just disappear.
I mean, yeah, and I understood why he said it, but, like, that doesn't mean that it's good. And it still hurts.
It still hurts. They are children, though.
I know, but Yuki was so fragile.
I know, but Kyo doesn't know that. From Kyo's standpoint, Yuki is the privileged rich kid that has everything. Which I almost feel like this is an indication on class perceptions. You know?
Yeah.
In a way. Because Yuki is this very much upper class, like high tier, favorite of the family head. And so everyone probably perceives Yuki as having everything, right? But Yuki is one of the most tortured souls in the show, showing that just because you have what appears to be the world to everyone else doesn't mean it's all it's cracked up to be. So Kyo wants everything that Yuki has, but if he got it, he would give up Kazuma, he would give up the ability to have friends, really, Kyo's the one who's winning out in this situation on paper.
Yeah, it's like, on paper, do you want to be perceived as the person who has baggage and freedom, or is privileged and has everything, you know? Because Yuki looks that way. It's like, he has, both of his parents are alive. He's favored by God. He's extremely privileged. He's living in the family estate. Everything seems to be going well. Nice clothes. It was said that he goes to a really elite school, and on paper, it sounds like he is just set for success, but he's so lonely. Whereas Kyo, as you see in that one scene when Yuki's looking out the window, skipping ahead a little bit, but like, it's such a jarring scene where Yuki looks out the window of the car and he sees Kyo being surrounded by friends, and later you see him hugging Kazuma, and he has freedom. Sure, he has baggage, but he has freedom, and he has people that he can go see and make relationships with.
I don't know, it just hit me really hard just knowing where they both end up and what their mental states and their situations are, like, modern day in the story. You know? Because both of them have intense amounts of baggage. But when it comes down to it, like you said, Kyo has supports, and Yuki really didn't.
No.
He does now.
Yeah, once he had met Hatsuharu and cleared the air on that, and then now he's created even more friendships. It's gotten a lot better for him, but like we said earlier, you get ink on that tatami mat, and
it's hard to scrub out.
Yeah. But then little baby Yuki, after getting screamed at by Kyo, goes in, gets slapped by his mom, and realizes that he may truly actually be hated by everyone. And that hurts.
And that's when it cuts to Akito talking to him in the dark. And can I just point out how disturbingly perfect the music was at this moment? Like, did you notice that? The music just felt very twisted, and it was unsettling as Akito was just burning these negative thoughts and words into Yuki. And this is something that we know has happened. But now we actually hear everything of what Akito is saying. And with Yuki being this isolated and those being the only words he hears, of course that's going to imprint on him. Of course that's going to make him start believing those awful, awful ideas. The human mind can really only resist that kind of assault without any other stimuli for so long.
Yeah. And as you see, the camellia flower, now we'll get into flower symbolism, it loses a petal. And so let's talk about camellias. We've talked about them before, but let's go over it again just because they're so prevalent in this episode. So in Japan, camellia flowers are often associated with religious ceremonies, and they symbolize divinity. And we've talked about that part of the symbolism before because they're always seen with Akito, who is God, and so that part made sense before. Now let's get into the other part of camellias. Among warriors and samurai, the red camellia symbolized a noble death. So it can mean love, but for warriors and samurai, it's more of this idea of a noble death where most flowers begin to wilt and lose their petals one by one, but the camellia loses its bloom all at once as the head of the flower falls directly from the stem. So over time, this has come to be communicated as a noble death because it's this vivid illustration of death in one's prime rather than a fate of eventual decay. So that's why it's such a big deal when these camellia flowers, there are two of them, and they each lose one petal at very key moments when Yuki is feeling very beat down. That's not what camellias do. They don't lose petals. They don't wilt that way. They're not supposed to decay slowly. But that's what's happening to Yuki. He's just decaying slowly in this dark room as his sickness gets worse and his heart grows heavier. And it's not good. So they're also a very bad present for people who are sick, because the flowers kind of like behead themselves when they die. So the fact that Yuki is sick and often seen with a red camellia is very distressing. because it's just, you don't give them to sick people. It's not a good idea. Yeah, as you continue to watch the episode, you realize that during these key moments, the camellias lose petals. So right now, Yuki is being fed negative words, and Akito says, "Don't delude yourself." And the camellia loses a petal, and then later the entire bloom just falls off. So, but we'll get there.
After we see all of these dark words being spoon-fed to Yuki, that we see him say that, "Of the Somas, my parents were the winners." Which, ow.
Yeah.
That hit. And he sees Kyo, Kagura, Haru, and Momiji, like, palling around and running to school. And ow part too.
Yeah.
Because just seeing their, like, playful, fun dynamic, it was nice from their perspective. But from Yuki's, he wanted nothing more than to be a part of that group. Which, it's nice that he is now. You know? Even if him and Kyo aren't, like, buddy-buddy, like, they're still in the same group. Because low-key, they both want to be, like, around each other and liked by the other one. They're just too bro-dude to, like, admit it, you know?
Yeah, they both wanted to be each other. Like, Kyo wanted to be Yuki.
And Yuki wanted to be best friends with Kyo. It's... oh, my heart. And he was the loner at school, which, like, isn't shocking, because he really hasn't been socialized with anyone but Akito, who, you know, I feel like those social skills aren't transferable to, like, an actual school. But he makes friends.
His first friends. Until it goes south.
I love those kids who just want to be friends with anyone. Like, those kids, because they're in every class, or most every class, there are those kids who are like, "Come play with us," like, kid we've never talked to before. And those kids are the best kids, and they become the best adults. Just saying. I'm just saying.
No, definitely.
And so he's playing soccer with them, and this led to them hanging out and playing more, which is also what led to, I would argue, one of probably the worst moments of his life.
Yeah.
Them accidentally hugging him when they're playing with some of the girls of the Soma family, and Hattori having to erase these memories. Which, Hattori, he's not an adult here. He's like a teenager, right? Like,
yeah.
He's young. He's about how old they are now. So imagine being, like, somewhere between 15 and 18. I don't know. But, like, imagine being that young and having the responsibility of absolutely crushing this small child's, like, world. Like, that would mess you up. Because he is still very much in his formative years as well. And so I feel so bad for... like, it shows in every way how bad the Zodiac and their family structure is for everyone. Because if one person does something wrong, it'll have ripple effects and damage people in ways that they won't even realize.
Yeah, and you can see how damaging it is symbolically, because this is when another camellia loses a petal. So, and one scene I do have to talk about real quick, because we breezed right past it, was the scene when Yuki is eavesdropping, and there's this scene of Yuki being cut off by the camera. In composition, I don't know the exact term for it, but when you have your subject all the way to the right, and the area in front of their face gets cut off so there isn't a lot of room there, that shows a feeling of being trapped. And then to the left of him, taking up the majority of the composition, is all of these red camellias. And that's kind of like Akito just being overbearing and just absolutely taking over Yuki's world. Because he's listening to these people talk about how, oh, his parents are winners, they made out, they sold their son, and they have a whole bunch of money now, and whatever. And Yuki knows the truth that nobody else knows. That Akito is just taking over his life. And once again, the curse, his bond with Akito, all of that is again kind of ruining his life, where he can't even have friends.
It all just hits me so hard. Because, like, I've made it no secret that Yuki is probably my favorite character, or at least up there. Like, let's be honest, Kakeru is my favorite character. But, like, of the main, like, cast, you know, Yuki's my favorite character. And getting all of this context behind how he got here, because we've seen so many snippets. And so those scenes, like you're talking about, where they use composition so well and use those flowers to show almost that cloud hanging behind him and about to overpower him, because in that shot, they made him look so small in stature.
Yeah, compared to that giant red camellia bush.
Just, I don't know, it hurts me.
That's what this episode does. It's just the hurt train. You're just constantly getting smacked around.
I came here for shoujo, romance, and fun times and laughter, and I get pain.
That's Fruits Basket in a nutshell. There you go. You figured it out.
That season 1 was such a tease.
Just wait till season 3. Okay.
Oh, God. Oh, good.
But then we get the hat. Which, you thought we were done with the hat, didn't you? Like, wrapped up nice and clean. Oh, we figured out it was Yuki's, and he gave it to Tohru, and, you know, there you go. Nice, good story. Tricks on you.
I figured it would come back, but I figured the only way it would come back is him actually telling her that the hat was his. Because she still doesn't know.
No, she doesn't.
So that is the extent to which I thought it would come back. Like, it's got layers, though.
Because it used to be Kyo's.
Which, like, you can vouch for me. I exclaimed.
Yeah.
Like, I was shook. It was just like a little, but still. So it's Kyo's hat, which means that, in a way, I wasn't wrong. All those, like, episodes ago when I was like, I thought it was gonna be Kyo's hat. Because technically I was right. So...
Oh my gosh, the face I made when you said that.
Call me a savant. Call me a savant. Even though, in reality, I was, like, high-key wrong. Because I figured Kyo gave it to her. But, like, that doesn't matter. So Yuki grabbed the hat. And it almost became, like, a keepsake for him. Because all he wanted was for Kyo not to hate him. And him breaking down with that hat after he saw, like, Kazuma hug Kyo, that moment broke me.
I sent you that page a long time ago, before the anime
Did you?
even aired. Yeah, I sent you that page and I was like, if you wanted to know why I'm crying at 3 a.m. while reading a manga, this is it. And I'm so happy that your memory is trash, because that scene wouldn't have had a lot of impact on you. But now here we are watching the anime, and it hit you hard.
Were we watching season 1?
No, it didn't even air yet.
Oh.
Yeah, so
yeah,
secrets, you already read it, technically.
Well, I was spoiled. How could you not have known that we were going to film a podcast?
Oh, sorry.
How dare you? But it's after this that Akito asks Yuki if he's going to die. And this is when Akito mentions that Kyo's mom committed suicide. Mm-hmm. Which, I don't think that's explicitly been said yet. Like, Kyo heavily alluded to it when he was talking to Tohru, but I don't think that's been explicitly stated yet.
I think it was when Kyo was remembering the funeral, and his dad was like, it was suicide and it was your fault.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I don't remember though. I have terrible memory just like you. But no, this is the first time we've heard about the suicide note though.
Yeah.
And that she apparently said that she might have been happier if she had given birth to the rat.
Which, why would you write that? Well, I know why she wrote it, like, just in the mental state. But me as a fan who's disengaged with the reality of the matter, who just wants to protect Kyo.
Yeah.
Why would you write that? In reality, like, she probably needed profound counseling and was probably dealing with a lot of mental health struggles and depression and self-loathing and just a lot of, yeah. So that's tough.
Yeah. Like, how come I had to be cursed with the one who was the most cursed that turns into a scary monster thing, and I'm constantly checking the beads to make sure that he won't turn into said smelly, scary monster.
Yeah.
And wouldn't my life be better if I had the promised chosen rat boy?
Yeah. And it's very human. Just in general, it's very human, and it's tough, those suicidal ideations, and that's something that a lot of people struggle with. And her getting to that place just because of the Zodiac family, and now her decisions have a direct impact on not only Kyo but also Yuki. It's tough. Also, real quick, if anyone listening to this at all is struggling with suicidal ideations, I'm sorry to get a little bit somber here, but if you are struggling with that, we have a number below to the suicide hotline, and we implore you to talk to someone about those thoughts, please.
Yes, I'm wearing my Out of the Darkness suicide prevention shirt right now. We're huge supporters of preventing suicide, so please, 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 please reach out if you ever need any help, and there are lots of different resources for you.
Yeah. So, getting back to the episode, because that is a theme of the episode, because Kyo confronts his father, screaming at him that he'll kill Yuki, then kill himself, which for a child to get to that point of grief and despair, it's heart-wrenching just how much loathing and jealousy he has for Yuki, and also how much loathing he has for what he is, which is something that he was born with. He can't change that. And that thing that was thrust upon him that he can't change is why his mother left him. Yeah.
But then we get one very important scene I keep mentioning, which is the camellia flower falling off the bloom. And it pairs very well with Akito saying, "Are you going to die? Like, you're no fun. Are you going to die, Yuki?" kind of thing. Because the red camellia falling off represents a noble death. And when you first watch it, it's like, oh my gosh, did he die? Like, is he okay? And then he drops the hacky sack too. Like, you're getting a lot of ideas that Yuki has passed away, which doesn't make any sense because this is a flashback. But you just get that feeling. It doesn't look well. But when you know that it means a noble death, it's kind of like that form of Yuki, that old him, that compromising and controlled Yuki, died. And he invented a new one that was more, I don't know, like adventurous, ready to take risks, ready to go find himself, figure out what it is that he needs to do to feel better. When he puts on the hat, he looks in the mirror, and he looks outside, and he says, "Even the dawn was gray." And I have to jump ahead just a little bit to tell you how he reinvented himself. Because he ends up saying at the end of the episode that the world isn't enveloped in light, but it isn't all dark either. And that's what gray is. It's not white, it's not black, it's in the middle. And that describes Yuki so perfectly. The dawn is gray. Yuki is gray. He has his traumas, he has the ink on the tatami mat, but he's not hopeless. He can find himself. And he can find a world in which he feels needed, wanted, and appreciated. And I love that for him.
Because looking at the world as this very black and white thing, which is so easy to do, just in reality, it's not practical. Like, we're all in these shades of gray. And Yuki is the most indicative of that thematically. And because I'm a big old nerd, and I am obsessed with Kingdom Hearts, I could not help but draw parallels between Yuki and heckin' Riku from Kingdom Hearts. So if you play Kingdom Hearts, you know exactly what I mean, because at the end of the game, Chain of Memories, Riku says that he won't walk the road to light, he won't walk the road to darkness, he'll take the middle path, which is the road to dawn. His Keyblade's called the road to dawn, and they have the same hair color. I don't know. I thought that those parallels were very striking, and how they both kind of start out in the story in the darkness and then move into the light, but then they end up in that middle zone. I don't know.
It's definitely a theme.
Very paralleled. Yuki came first, but I still yeah.
Yes. And then we get him. The glass breaks. Something burst within his heart. He's leaving. He run. The boy he run. And he runs into Kyoko, who is missing Tohru. And Yuki feels needed because he brings her on home. Which that whole scene of her following him is just... It breaks me down every time.
I wonder if he was increasingly inclined to help Kyoko because of her hair, you know? Because he wanted to, right before he left, he wanted to help Kyo, remember?
Yeah.
He ran away, he wanted to help Kyo. He was like, if I disappear, then maybe that will help him a little bit. And then he runs into Kyoko right afterwards. He hears she needs help, and he brings her daughter home. And it's the first time he feels needed and useful. And I thought that was such an interesting thing, because we know that Kyo and Kyoko develop a relationship at some point. And so, I don't know, it's just this, like, weaving web of enmeshment. Like, it's Kyo's hat that he gave to Tohru, which I feel like, it feels like the hat's wrapped up, but I feel like it's totally not wrapped up, you know?
Okay.
Because the hat's in pretty pristine shape when he gives it to Tohru. And hats, they don't just get ragged for no reason. You know? Like, if it just sits on a shelf forever, it's not gonna get, like, it's a little bit ripped, it's a little bit raggedy when we see it. Like, that doesn't just happen. So I feel like she would wear it constantly as a kid, out of appreciation for that boy who led her home. And maybe she runs into Kyo or something, and he sees her with the hat.
How do you think that would make Kyo feel?
Confused? Grumpy, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably irritated, because he would know that she knew Yuki. Maybe a little jealous if he was developing a relationship with Kyoko and like, oh, Yuki's here too, you know? I don't know if he would put those dots together though. I don't know. But that scene was really cute. And I thought it was a nice little touch that he transformed into a rat, because his breathing problem was giving him a lot of trouble as he was leading her home, but he muscled through it just so that she could get there.
Yeah.
And he transformed right after.
Little rat baby crying.
Mm-hmm. So when we finally see him getting back to the estate, Akito doesn't look mad. Akito almost looks forlorn, you know?
Okay.
It almost feels envious. Like, oh, you got to leave. How nice for you. You know? It almost, maybe I'm reading into this because of my ideas about Akito, you know? So maybe I'm projecting. But it almost felt like Akito was jealous that Yuki had that freedom to run away if he wanted to. And maybe Yuki's not as underneath his thumb as he thought. And that makes him sad, because now Yuki could disappear at any minute. Which is why he doubles down on just making Yuki's life a living hell from here on out.
But then at the end, we get Yuki talking to Kakeru, so he hasn't shared...
Maname.
Oh my god. He hasn't shared all of this. He's just been sitting and, like, staring at the soccer field, and Kakeru's like, dude, you haven't been talking for a while. Like, you want to tell me what's going on in your noggin? And so then Yuki starts to share and open up, share the things that he was remembering. And then we get two big reveals. One we already kind of knew, but he actually verbally says, I wanted him, meaning Kyo, to like me. I want him to become my friend. And the other reveal, which you know, big ol' round of applause for you, John, because
yay!
You're right. Yuki
I figured
thinks of
it out.
Tohru as a mother.
Hey.
Was it shocking to you that you were right? Was it like, yo,
no.
He really did mom zone Tohru?
I was literally like, oh, they finally said it after teasing us for like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, no, I was stoked, obviously, but I wasn't surprised at all. I was just waiting for him to say it. The fact that he says it to Kakeru, I'm wondering how this next episode's gonna open up.
Oh yeah, the next episode is That's Not What I Want, and Yuki says it. So.
Oh my god, I just imagine Kakeru just like, just be like, you think of her as your mom? Like, what? Dude, you're a freak. Like, I just imagine Kakeru, like, not taking this. Like, next time they see Tohru and they're together, he'll be like, hey, yo, Yuki, it's your mom. Like...
Knowing Kakeru, who always has such dirty thoughts, he'd be like, is this some kind of, like, kink for you or something? Like, have you been watching, like, weird videos online? Because, like, I'd love to discuss that with you.
Yeah, because 3 episodes ago, he was like, so what kind of videos do you like? Well, I'm deceased. I need it to happen. Because next episode's gonna be a happy one. Like, it's gonna be upbeat. So? 100%. I would bet money. It's gonna be really sad and I'm gonna lose money. I don't bet. But, yeah. Is there anything else that you want to talk about in particular?
No way. This was one chonker of an episode.
Yeah, this one was a lot. This was a lot. This was a lot mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But that would do it for this week's podcast. And so we want to hear your thoughts about this episode in the comment section down below. What did you like? How did it make you feel? And if you have any questions for me or any comments for Allie, make sure to leave those down there as well. And so if you like this video, you want to see more of this kind of content coming from the show, make sure to like it, subscribe, and why not even ringing that notification bell so you never miss another upload. And why not even sharing it wherever you like sharing things. And as always, we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, a fantastic rest of your week, and why not even a fantastic rest of your month. And we will see you in the next video. Later.
See ya.